Welcome back to another deck profile. Today, if I sound more energetic, it's because we're really going up in subs. Like, just last video, I was below 50, and then after it went up, we gained, what, 4 new subscribers or something, making last month my best month for gaining subs because I gained 7 total subs last month, guys. Yeah, 7 total subs. It was great. But anyways, the deck I'm bringing you is Subterror Krawlers. It's more of just like an Earth flip effect deck, and it happens to be Krawlers mixed with Subterrors and so on. But I'm just gonna get into it. This is a really old deck, and it's a very janky one. It relies on you, 1, going first, 2, setting up something that your opponent can't really play through, which is really hard with flip monsters, but nonetheless, it's a deck. I guess you can say it works. It's not Guru Control. That is a deck I want to make, though. But anyways, let's just hop straight on into this. First up, we've got 3 copies of Krawler Receptor, I believe? Yes, Receptor. I will say this much now. All the Krawlers have the same effect that if they were face up on the field, or if this face up card on the field was destroyed by your opponent's monster, or not monster, by your opponent's card effect, you can summon 2 from your deck. Yeah, and then they all have unique flip effects, and they're hang on, I didn't even say what that effect was. It's whenever it's destroyed, whenever this face-up card is destroyed, you can summon 2 Krawlers from your deck in face-down defense position with different names. There we go. That's the Krawler effect. They all have flip effects, and this one's flip effect is basically its flip effect is you can add a Krawler monster from your deck to your hand, and that's all it does. That's its flip effect. Yeah. It definitely is the searcher for the deck. Yeah, they're not the strongest little things, right? This one? Yes, this one is the flip, add a Krawler from your deck to your hand. But I mean, like, they're not that strong. Only 900 attack and 1200 defense. Literally, this whole deck relies on you playing in a setting that everybody has agreed to play slow jank decks. Yeah. This deck is not good. But if it gets going, it'll get going. Like every rogue deck. This isn't even rogue. This is just a Shiggles deck. Next up, we have 3 copies of Krawler Glial. Glial has the effect to monster reborn a Krawler in face up or face down defense position. Or no, does he summon from hand as well? Yes, hand or graveyard. So he just summons a Krawler from your hand or graveyard. In face up or face down defense position. And then he has the Krawler effect. This is going to be a fairly fast one going through the Krawler monsters, but then when I get to the Subterrors, it's going to kind of get lengthy, I believe. And then for the last 3 of in the deck, we have 3 Krawler Spine. Whenever, it's flipped, target a card your opponent controls, destroy it. Or a monster your opponent controls, I believe. Yes. It's targeting removal, but it got a booty. It really do. And the other one didn't have much of a booty, but it had a bigger one than Receptor at 1500 defense. Now, mind you, mainly look at the defense values on these things because you're going to be playing them in defense position. The only thing you're going to be playing in attack position are the link monsters. So yeah, that's what he does, and then he also has the Krawler effect. But, you know, are only 3 ofs in the deck. Search, summon, destroy. Yeah. Next up, we have 2 copies of the level 12 Subterror. I'm not even going to try and pronounce its name. Let me take this. Ultra Maphus, I believe. Then he has the whenever he's flipped, he can change all other face-up monsters on the field to face-down defense position. And that's his flip effect. Then all Subterrors have the same effect, that during your main phase, you can flip this card face down. And then they have another effect in hand, where if a card is flipped face down and all monsters you control are face down, you can summon them from the hand face down, I believe. When a face-up monster you control is flipped face down, if you control no face-up monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense position. Once per turn, you can change this card to face down defense position. Never mind. They have the effect to summon themselves from the hand in face-up defense position, but then they have a soft once per turn to flip themselves face down as well. But yeah, he basically Book of Eclipses everything. Next up, we have 2 copies of Stygo Kraken. If my camera would focus. It says, or whenever... I'm sorry if I keep taking these off camera. I have to read them because I haven't played this deck in forever. Whenever it's flipped, you can target set cards on the field equal to the number of Subterror monsters you control, and then destroy them. So it's basically like, oh, if you're playing against a deck that likes face down cards, you flip up all your other you flip up all your other Subterrors, and then you flip this up last. And then you destroy a bunch of stuff. And then again, Subterror Claws. Next up, we have 2 copies of Subterror Fiendus. You could play this at 3. Or you could play this at 0 and just play pure Krawlers. You could play all the Subterror stuff at 0 and play pure Krawlers. I'm not going to stop you. Anyways, she's a hand trap. Basically, when your opponent activates, I think, anything... and you have a face-up Subterror, you can discard this from your hand, target that Subterror, flip it face down, and negate that effect. I believe that's what she does. Yeah, when your opponent activates a card effect, send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard, then target 1 Subterror monster you control, negate the activation, then change the targeted monster to face down defense position. Face a monster you control, change it to face down defense position. If you do, special summon 1 Subterror monster from your hand or graveyard in face up or face down defense position. So she has an effect for on field too, to flip stuff face down to summon more stuff from the graveyard. Yeah. But you're mainly probably going to use her for that hand trap effect. Next up, we have 2 copies of Subterror Nemesis Warrior. Again, I haven't played this deck in forever. Or you can send a Subterror from your deck. So he's a Foolish Burial for a Subterror monster. Then you contribute this card and 1 other, so the total original levels equal or exceed the level of that Subterror monster in the graveyard. And if you do, special summon that monster face up or face down defense position. If a Subterror Behemoth monster is flipped face up while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card. And the summon effect is once per turn, or the summon himself out of the graveyard is hard once per turn. And I think the Foolish is whenever he's only normal summoned. Oh no, it's during either player's turn. Oh no, you can only use each effect of him once per turn. So his effects are hard once per turn, which is why it's during either player's turn. Yeah. He's also just an 1800 beatstick. And again, he's a foolish burial for a Subterror monster, which I don't see as being bad. I really have no clue what most of this stuff does. I threw this deck together like 2 years ago, and I haven't touched it since. Like, I threw this together while I was still in high school, and I was going to Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments going to like a locals tournament at an actual like store. And now that store doesn't host them anymore, and it makes me kind of sad. But there are reasons why they don't host them anymore. Anyways, Krawler Ranveer. He has the effect whenever he's flipped up. You can target 2 Subterrors in your graveyard and add them back to your hand. That's honestly really good because it kind of, if you have one of him in the graveyard and another one on the field, basically what you do is you have him get flipped face up. You add the one copy of him back, and then you add another Krawler back to your hand, and then you have an infinite cycle of regaining 2 cards out of your graveyard. And then, yes, he has the Krawler clause, and he's really piss poor on the defense side. He almost has the same stats as Receptor, but reverse. But, you know, that's not it. And then next up we have the 1 copy of Subterror Nemesis Archer. At the start of the damage step, if this card attacks an opponent's face down defense position monster and you control another Subterror monster, or you can, hang on, let me just read this off camera. You can shuffle that opponent's monster into the deck. If this card on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 Subterror monster from your deck in face up or face down defense position. So, she's good for getting rid of, like, let's say you use Ultra Maphis and then summon this chick. So, you attack into something, you get rid of it, and then your opponent gets rid of her somehow, and then you get another Subterror from your deck. Which is not bad. It's not the worst thing in the world. And then for our last monster in the deck, 1 copy of Axon. He's an MST. Yep. He's MST. You can target a spell or trap on the field and destroy it whenever he's flipped. Yep. That's all he does. I think he has the worst stat line out of everything. Because at least if some of these... No, Ranveer has the worst stat line because it's only, 1100 attack and 900 defense. This thing actually has, like, a defense value that's semi-decent. Like, 1800 defense. Yeah, that's not too bad. Next up, we're moving into the traps. And with the new Master Rule that came out, that took place on April 1st, Dimensional Barrier! Woo! This card is definitely going to be seeing a lot more play again. Basically activate this card by calling a monster type. Ritual, Xyz, Synchro. Oh my god, let me look at all the card types because I think there's Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Pendulum, and then your opponent cannot summon anything of the declare type for the turn. And you can only activate 1 Dimensional Barrier per turn, which is why I only run it at 2. But, you know, you could run it at 3 if you wanted. It's basically a really good stun card, and you really need to stun your opponent with this deck. So, yeah. Next up, we have 2 copies of Strike, like I said. Again, this is a deck that's supposed to stun your opponent, stopping monster effects for 1500 life points, or summons of a monster for 1500 life points. Not bad. Granted, yes, you could put Solemn Warning in here, and it can stop anything for half your life points. I don't know how I feel about doing that in a flip effect deck, though, so 1500 seems like a steep enough cost to me. Next up, we have 2 copies of Mirror Force. Everybody knows what this card does, but if you don't, if you're getting into the game, let me explain to you what this card does. Whenever an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can destroy all attack position monsters your opponent controls. Now, again, for you new people getting into it that don't really understand like Link monsters too well just yet, Mirror Force just straight up kills all Link monsters. It's a dark hole against Link monsters because Link monsters don't have a defense value, so they can't go into defense. So playing Mirror Force kills your opponent's Link monsters. Yay. And if this next card doesn't give away that I wanted to do a Guru Control kind of crawler build, I don't know what will, and that's Subterror Final Battle. Everybody knows this card from Guru Control. It has, what, 4 different effects? I couldn't think of the number. And it says you can change one set Subterror monster on the field to face-up attack or defense position. Or you can change one face-up Subterror monster to face-down defense position. Or the attack and defense of a Subterror monster on the field become equal to its combined original attack and defense until the end of the turn. And then this turn, activated effects of Subterrors cannot be negated. So yeah, in Guru Control, you flip this up as a battle trap. You flip this up to disrupt plays. You flip this up to have them unable to respond to Guru. Yeah, this card really good. And then, to top it all off, it doesn't go to the graveyard after use. You set it face down. Yeah. It's a fucking crazy card. The Subterrors are just kind of nutty. Next up, we have 2 copies of World Legacy Pawns. I would say just running this at 3. Simply because it has the effect to flip stuff up on your opponent's turn. This card I remember, but literally everything else I don't. I know this card. This card says you can target a face-down monster you control and flip it into face-up or face-up attack or defense position. And then, after you do that, and then it has another effect to where you can shuffle a crawler back to target a face-up monster you control and flip it face-down. I say it's really good for the deck, and that's all it does. And yes, you have to shuffle a crawler back. It's weird. This deck is weird. This deck is slow. This deck is kind of dumb. And then finally, for our traps, Subterror Behemoth Burrowing. Banish a Subterror monster, and then face-down cards you control can't be destroyed by card effects for the turn. So let's say your opponent knows you have like a Spine down, and you have a Subterror in your graveyard, a couple back row. This is one of your back row. They go to remove it with a card effect, like destroy it with a card effect, and then you're like, no. No. That's basically what this is. That has another effect. And your opponent cannot target them with card effects. Okay. So basically, give them Chaos Max protection. And then, if it's destroyed by a card effect, you can add a Subterror from your deck to your hand. And then you can banish this card from your graveyard, target one Subterror monster you control, and change it to face down defense position. Not bad, not bad, not bad. God damn, I didn't even realize we're almost 20 minutes deep. And I'm not even through the spells yet. So starting us off, we have, if my card sleeps would cooperate, we have 3 copies of World Legacy in Shadow. This is the Krawler field spell. It lets you, once per turn, summon a level 2 or lower insect monster from your hand in face-up or face-down defense position. And then when a flip monster is destroyed by battle with an opponent's monster, you can send that opponent's monster to the graveyard. And then all of your crawlers gain immediately 300 attack and defense boost. So this card sends stuff to graveyard when your opponent destroys your crawlers by battle. Which, you know, you can kind of force that out. Yeah. Next up, we have 2 copies of Worm Bait. Basically, control you tribute an insect to get 2 tokens. Or if you control an insect. Yeah, if you control an insect, you can special summon 2 worm tokens that are Earth level 1 0/0 attack monster, attack and defense. And then what does it say? Then you cannot normal or special summon any level 3 or 4 monsters. You can't summon any level 3 or 4 monsters for the turn. Not a problem with this deck, when most of it's literally all over the place. You have level 2s, you have level 4s, you have level 12s, you have level 10s, you have level 6s. Yeah. And then we have 2 copies of World Legacy Survivor. Excavate the top 5 cards of your deck, add a Krawler or World Legacy card from among them to your hand, and then send the rest to the graveyard. And if you don't add anything, you shuffle all cards into the deck, and then for the rest of the turn after this effect resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except link monsters. Well, that's good for us because I'll show you when we get into the extra deck. And then finally, terraforming. Everybody knows terraforming. Search and add a field spell from your deck to your hand. It's limited to 1, so yeah. Also, when I was getting this video ready, I was sorting out the deck. To show you how long it's been since I messed with this deck, there were 2 terraformings in this deck. Yeah. It's been a while since I've messed with this deck. So starting us off in the extra deck, we have 3 copies. Gotta slow myself down a little bit. Of Krawler, Clayark. I don't know how the hell you pronounce that. He has 3 different effects for each crawler with a different name you control, or just for each crawler you control. Oh, hey, look, hey, you can kind of see me, guys. Hi. But yeah, his effects are: all monsters you control gain 300 attack and defense. Your opponent's cards and effects cannot be activated during the battle phase, and then your monsters can attack directly for controlling 6. So the first effect is if you control 2, the second effect is 2 or more, the second effect is if you control 4 or more, and then the last one is if you control 6 or more. Which in this deck you're not going to control any more than 6, and most of the time you're not even going to control any more than 4. So yeah. And then all of the Crawler Link monsters have a floating effect that whenever they go to the graveyard by being destroyed by battle or card effect, you can summon 2 Crawlers from your graveyard in face up or face down defense position. So, yeah. Next up, we have 3 copies of Fiendess, Subterror, Behemoth Fiendess. I know, there was another Fiendess in the deck. She's in the main deck, and not a Link monster, and she's not a Behemoth. She has the effect that whenever she's summoned, she can gain 100 attack times the level of a Subterror, or of all the Subterror monsters used for her Link summon, and then you can send a flip monster from your deck to the graveyard and special summon a monster from your hand in face down defense position to a zone this card points to. And you can only use this effect of her once per turn. And then once per turn of a monster this card points to is flipped face up. Add a flip monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand. Really good recursion. And also really good, fucking Foolish Burial for a flip monster, which means you can set up your graveyard for the Ranveer combo, so on and so forth. Next up, we have 3 copies of Neurogos. I think Neurogos says, Crawler monsters this card points to cannot be destroyed by battle, and then he gains 300 attack and defense. If they battle your opponent's monster, any battle damage they inflict to your opponent is doubled. And then he has the same clause as Clayark, where if he leaves the field, target 2 in your graveyard and summon them in face up or face down defense position. Crawler Claw, or Crawler Claws, I shall call it. And then I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Again, I'm trying to speed through this because I'm looking at the time and I'm like, my phone might run out of space any time now. We have Synapsis. Hey, phone, focus. He's basically Neurogos, but for card effects. And I think he has another, yeah, and then everything he points to, and then they can also make 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase. And then has the X-Crawler claws. And then last but not least, 2 copies of Miser's Radiant. Just because it can boost your Earth monsters by 500 attack. And for those niche situations where you're playing against wind decks, it lowers their attack by 400 attack and defense. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, people who watch my channel for God knows what reason, I hope you did enjoy this. I know my content's really not the best, and I'm really trying. I want to improve, but I need to get my count of subs up. I need to, you know, keep growing, and you guys are making that possible with the ridiculous amount of support I've been getting doing Yu-Gi-Oh rather than gaming live streams, which I do want to do those again sometime. I just don't know when. But with the ridiculous amount of support Yu-Gi-Oh is bringing to my channel, I don't know if I'm ever going to go back to gaming live streams, but I might. So anyways, guys, I know this was a bit of a longer video because I rambled on about dumb stuff and was like, oh, this and that, this and that, and this and that. And I'm really full of energy right now because my channel blew up after that last video. I mean, I went from 60 subs to 63, which is like 3 subs off of 1 video. I'll take it. I gained 7 subs last month. I can't thank you guys enough. I guys enjoyed this. I really hope you guys like my janky decks as well, because that's really all I play. I play jank. I play stuff that normally doesn't work, but I try to make it work, and if it doesn't work, I'm like, haha, it's funny though. So anyways, guys, if you're new here, please be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. It helps me out knowing that people are still coming to my channel, looking at the videos, and they're like, hey, this guy's really cool. Let's hit that subscribe button. Make sure to hit that bell so you get notified about my uploads. And I try to do these once a week, but right now I'm running low on decks, so I'm probably gonna have to do like how-to on certain decks, or whenever this whole thing that's going on in the world goes away and I start getting paid again, I could do box openings of Yu-Gi-Oh sets, whatever. But again, if you're new, hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell, and if you enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit that like button. Everything you guys do, dislikes, likes, comments, it motivates me to keep going, and I really enjoy this. I love making content over something that I really enjoy. So anyways, guys, this is your boy, Ghost556, signing off. A peace.